packages. I just had to bring them all in. Totally sweaty and a mess now. Yeah. Whew. Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. We're gonna go ahead and do pipeline for Brian, and then we will get cracking on the other stuff.
I'll pull it up. Hold on one second. I'll pull it up.
Yeah. As you're accepting packages, you got stuff going on.
It's crazy. Crazy. Okay, here it is. I'm gonna make sure it's there. The whole screen is open. Okay, I'm going to now do I have the share screen ability before I hit this button?
Alex, you're on mute.
Yeah, you disappeared on me.
I said that's a really good question, and I am going to make sure that you can. Give me a second.
And I still added one thing to your spreadsheet.
You added?
Yeah, you'll see it.
Oh my God.
I know.
As long as you don't break formulas, you're good to
broke
go.
that spreadsheet, I swear, Brian.
Nope.
Okay.
You'll get a kick out of it because I'm a very visual person. In fact, I went my university degree is in film and media studies, so I'm big time into visual. So, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Now you can see what I added.
Color coding.
Yes. So
wow,
you can see
I like it. Okay.
New versus current customers, just so I can take an immediate, look and say, okay, so all these are, our current customers that we're upselling, and then the yellow is new, and that'll, that way I can kind of track my progress as far as what I'm upselling versus what's new, and immediately just look there and see it. So anyway, just a quick.
Okay, hold on one second. I'm just telling somebody I'm unavailable for a meeting now.
Yeah.
What's today's, what time is it? It's 4, right? 3 p.m.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So we are looking at the organization name is BBG. We've got the role as senior engineer and government IT.
Yep.
The amount is 8,000. And can you scroll over, please?
Oh yeah, that's all I could fit on the screen there. And these are your numbers now. All I did was, plug them in now.
That's totally fine. And just for the privacy of your account, because everybody's coming from different MSPs and everybody has different, no one's going to take from you on this one because you guys are all so different and have different areas. But just in case you want to know, if we want to move past the contact name and I can just see the role and then the products and services, that would be great. And that way nobody's, in your business. So we've got, you don't need to hide it, just scroll over. So because I need to see our stuff. There we go. Okay. So IT senior engineer, you've got government IT, and that's the products and services. The amount is 8,000. Discovery call is scheduled. When you say discovery call is scheduled, how is that done? Was that a lead? Did you call him?
Yeah, it was an original lead, and I called him. Yeah, and I did the introductory call already. We went over lots of information as far as what they needed, as far as their cybersecurity needs and their meeting all the government, contract needs and things like that.
So you already had the discovery call. You already got banned?
No, I had the intro call. The discovery call is where I'm going to dive into his absolute, what are you doing? It's an hour-long conversation. The discovery call was a half hour where, yes, I already discovered the band. There was need, there was budget. He's the man, and his timeline is he'd like to get it done before the end of the year, but this is all new to him. So
Got it. Okay, so you do have, so he has budget, he has authority, he has need, he has timeline, so it is a full opportunity.
Yep.
And then the discovery call. So, okay, so explain to me how you didn't already have a discovery call, because it really sounds like you did, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, I just, and I was talking to Kevin because there's so many different people that label different things. My first call, I call an introduction call. Okay.
Yep.
Because I want to introduce myself, develop the rapport, and find out if there's need. My discovery call is where I dive into his business and I really start saying, what are you doing? What computer unit, what, and I have a technician on the call with me, which is going to be on that call, James, this technician, and we're going to dive into his actual environment, what he's doing, and then, talk to him about, okay, after we've got a complete picture of what you're doing and what your organization looks like, and then we'll come up with some solutions. So the next call after the discovery call would be I don't know what people call it, but it's more of a solution call, where you're sitting there saying, okay, here's our options that we're presenting to you, blah, blah, blah. Sign on the dotted line. When can you start?
Yeah.
So I basically break my calls into 3: intro, discovery, proposal.
Okay, so can I challenge you on one little
You
thing?
can challenge me on anything. I'm an open book.
So one of the things that I tend to challenge people on is, why can't we go through 2 steps on the same call? Because for me, not every stage of the deal has to be a separate phone call or a separate meeting, right? So technically you could get discovery all the way to, approved or proposal with the client if you knock everything out. Now you can come back at me and say, absolutely not, we're not there yet. I still don't know if he's willing to have the conversation, but look at the drop down of what's available from discovery call scheduled. The next one's is qualified to buy.
Right.
Do you think he's qualified to buy when he says he wants to move forward on something by end of year, and you've already figured out that he's got budget, authority, need, timeline?
He is.
Do you see why I'm having that conversation? Why I'm saying that? Because it gives you more, it gives you more accuracy with your forecast. And if it gives you more accuracy with the forecast, if you look at the weighted pipeline, then that's going to make all the difference.
Yeah, I completely see what you're saying. I mean, the reason that, there's a second call and usually a third call is because when you get on that first call and you start asking them questions, they don't have the answers. They don't know what their environment looks like. They don't know what they're doing. They're usually just stepping into the pond, so to speak. So you're asking them a lot of questions, and you're also asking them, hey, when we come back to this next meeting, can you come armed with some information so that we can disseminate your environment and, discuss immediate needs versus future needs, those type of things, So I mean, a second, I hear what you're saying. So on the spreadsheet, I like that. That's a great idea. But as far as the flow of things, the second call is definitely a deeper dive. I can't do the proposal on the second call because the first call, which is only 30 minutes, and I definitely stick to that on the first call. They usually, now sometimes they will, but usually they don't have the picture of their own environment. They don't know what they're doing.
Right. And sometimes it's up to us to actually tell them what they need, right? It's a lot of what you're doing specifically is education.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one of those things that we have to do is, as consultants, and we really do have to be the consultant, we do have to take them through the journey of why they need what we have, why they need to network, why they need to get through CMMC, why, right? Because a lot of times they're just like, all right, I should get it. But, similar to cloud services that Lewis is doing, right? Why do they need to move to the cloud? Why do they need to host, a bunch of SaaS applications when they technically, have a server, right? What's with the backup in the cloud? What's with, there's a lot of different reasons. So a lot of what we do is educating and making sure that they are on the same page and that the expectations are set. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So now that it's at 20%, now the weighted pipeline close, since it was 8,000, now it's looking at 1,600, which is a little bit better. Scroll to the right.
High five. See Iris note?
And when is it closing? We don't have a close date. You said that he wanted to close by end of December, right?
If possible, but again, since he's just putting his toes in the water, I'm not gonna say end of year because I'm a little concerned that, I have to figure out what his environment looks like and what we're talking about dollar wise, because if you throw, I put $8,000 up there, but what if it's, more? I don't know.
So here's what I would do on that. I would still get a close date of end of year, and here's why. Because if he's saying he wants to do something by end of year, hold him to do that and make him tell you why. Doesn't matter on the budget because you already qualified that he needs it. You already
Right.
qualified that he's got the authority to sign for it, and he already told you he wants by end of year. Now
Right.
it's our job as the consultant to say, well, why do you need it by end of year?
Right.
And make them say it to you so that once you're there, you can then regurgitate it back to them come, November 28th, when, when everybody just got, full from turkey, and you're now doing your follow-ups and you're saying, well, you're not calling on November 28th, but say December 2nd, you're calling him on December 2nd and saying, are we on the pipeline? Is it ready to go? Are we on the right track?
Right.
And then he starts backpedaling after you've already done the work. Then you can say, well, wait a minute, you told me that you wanted to do it by end of year because variable. And then it's a conversation that you can have when you're using his own words against him, but you just got to listen for it and reframe it.
So you want me to throw like 30 December, end of year?
Is he going to be in the office on the 30th of December? Now remember, because this is end of Q4, we need to take into consideration that especially in government contractors, everybody closes right around 2, 3, 4 days before Christmas, and they don't show up until January 5. So, yep. There you go. Okay, so next steps. What are next steps with him?
That's the call on the 24th.
Mhm.
So you want me to put that in there? Just type that in, call.
Okay, so I would put a little bit more detail on that, just especially because you're dealing with Odoo and you can't trust it yet. So I would put a little bit more detail, and the next steps, what is that next step to do? You've already qualified BANT. So the next step is to do an assessment.
Yeah, tech deep dive is what I
There
call
you
it.
go. Yep. So a technical deep dive. So I would say tech deep dive on the 24th of November. And then you need to put the lead source where you got it. And the reason for that is because we're going to start tracking where the best leads are coming from and what's moving down the pipeline faster.
In CRM, do you want me to just put yes? It's in the CRM?
You can just click the box.
Oh, okay.
Look at you trying to break our stuff again, man.
I know. So, did I just get rid of it now?
I don't know. What'd you do?
Wait, I can go back.
Just hit undo.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
There.
Okay.
Okay. And then we need to actually take ConnectWise notes out of that. I'm not sure why ConnectWise is in there.
Okay.
It's just for whatever your PSA is. So we need to make that a little bit more generic. Nick, can you make sure that that is fixed? Thank you. All right, let's move on to the next one because we've got a couple 50%ers and we've got proposals with decision maker. So let's go over those real quick. And Sierra, Lewis, everybody else on the call, are you guys understanding why we're going through these? And it's a little painstaking at the beginning when we're starting to get through these to see how I want to be measuring this stuff. But are you understanding why we're doing it? Sierra says yes, we're getting a thumbs up. Lewis, does this make sense to you? Cool. All right. Nick, you're getting why I'm doing this and being a pain in the butt. Stacy says yes. All right, cool. We have feedback. Awesome. Stacy, do me a favor, follow up with Steven. I want to make sure that he's doing this too, even though he's not on, but I do know that he's getting pulled in a bunch of directions this week. So if we can follow up and make sure that he's getting all of this, that'd be great.
Yes, I have a quick question, and please don't laugh at my voice.
Poor thing, he's been sick, guys.
I'm just curious, is it because of the CMMC that we're doing like the intro call, the like the 3 calls and then a close call? Is it because of the complexity of CMMC?
Well, it's the complexity for any MSP deal, really. There's a bunch of steps. There's always an assessment period. There's always a deep dive. There's always multiple calls. Now you may get really lucky where somebody is hair on fire. And that's a great question, Stacy. There may be somebody that's like, oh shoot, my MSP really screwed up and I need something ASAP. That very rarely happens, but it could, you know, for Sierra, it could be like, oh crap, we just had somebody back out of a speaking engagement. We need to book Pam right now. Rarely happens, but it could. And then for you know, for this one in particular, absolutely, it's going to be not only, okay, we've identified that you have a need, but we also don't know the scope, because just that initial call, that discovery call of establishing BANT has nothing to do with the actual scope of what they're going to need. And that's where every single MSP needs to have more of an assessment period. That's why we have tools like Audit IT or oh gosh, what is Alex's, another Alex, not me. There's another assessment tool out there. There are also tools like SaaS alerts that you can kind of use as sort of a almost a prospecting tool, right? So there's other things that have to be done in order to quote people the correct way. Think of it this way. We have an intensive, right? Where we go in and people pay us to do an intensive, which is essentially the same as an audit, but we're doing a lot more work on the back end, and we're giving them an entire playbook that plans out their sales and their revenue for the entire year. So we do that before we work with anybody on an ongoing basis, because why would I not want to have that work done for me prior? Same thing, right? And some MSPs will charge for their audit and some MSPs will not, but it does take a little bit of due diligence and time to do it effectively. Does that answer your question, Stace?
It does, just coming from the hardware where I had established accounts, and they would call and be like, hey, I need a quote, and I'd send it out, and then we'd be closing. So that I was just curious.
Yep,
Well,
absolutely.
that's a different game from, you know, this type of game and what Lewis is doing selling cloud. You definitely have to, on the first call, develop the rapport and the BANT and move it to a second, more technical call. And the first call has to be definitely getting them to want that second deep dive, because A, it's going to take a lot more of their time, and they're going to have to invest themselves in that second call big time, as opposed to the first call, which is just, hey, this is who we are, and, you know, hey, let's develop a rapport, and you got to like us. And, you know, a lot of people, when they don't get that second meeting, they're like, why didn't they come back? Well, they didn't come back because your first call was a mess. You know, you didn't get the strength in the first call to bring them back to the second call. And so you're low on their totem pole. You got to be high on their totem pole.
And your deep dive actually turns into sort of the proposal. So it could be 3 calls or 4. It doesn't always have to be the 4 calls, right?
Yeah, my deep dive is never the proposal, though, because you have to, once you get a picture, you have to then, you know, come up with some options. And although, like Alex was saying, although sometimes you get lucky and on the fly, they'll just say, this is what I need, let's do it. Most times
Gotcha.
you have to create the picture for them, different paths. The one path that you want them to go on, but I think, what is the other gentleman's name? Is it Steven that was on the call before, Alex?
Yes.
Yeah, but then other paths as options so that you can eventually lead them. So yeah, the discovery call, unless you're real lucky, like Alex said, it is never the proposal call, unless you get lucky.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. But that's just my way. I don't know. This is
Okay, so let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
All right, so what's the next one? Walk me through.
I think this is, no, I have to kind of peek because again, oh yeah. So these are Kevin's longstanding clients that we need to kind of get a kick in the pants from because they're taking their time doing things that are required to meet the CMC requirements and, you know, the government guidelines, and, you know, they're not secure in some phase. And so, you know, these people were sending out proposals, and Kevin has introduced me to them. I've had a conversation with them now, and these proposals have now gone out. But these are,
But when you say the proposals have gone out, what
Mhm.
I fear is that you never built the rapport and you don't have the expectation set with these people. And he's passing it off to you. And I feel like you have to do a little bit more work on it. So
Yeah.
while I said, hey, let's move this one over to qualified to buy, I think you have more work to do. That proposal
do.
with decision maker honestly may be doing you more harm than good.
I
Does
see, yeah.
Does that resonate or no?
Yes, no, Alex, you're absolutely right, because just like you said, he was like, get this out to them, you know? And I was like, and I've only talked to them once, and just like we were just going over, the rapport is not 100% there with me and these folks as it is with,
And nothing against your boss, because honestly, he knows his stuff and it's good. But even he will admit that he pushes it out as quickly as possible, right? Like that's
Right.
just sort of, it is what it is, and he moves it out as fast as he can, and he wants to move on to the next thing. So I
Yeah.
think you're going to have a little bit of backpedaling to do with these.
Yes,
And as you start owning them a little bit more, it's going to feel a lot more organic to you.
uh-huh,
So I think that's what you're looking at right now, is just a little bit of a challenge because you're ramping up. So what I would do is, have you been in touch with all of these people? The
I-
CEO, the IT engineer, the IT senior,
I
and
have
the
not been in touch with number 23 yet.
Okay.
That person I have not. Now, this person here, the senior IT engineer, we just had an hour-long call with yesterday where I did develop the rapport. I did send him out this proposal after the discussions with Kevin on the call, because Kevin had initially set them up. But nice long calls where I developed a strong rapport, and we set up steps and stages, and this was agreed upon that this was the first step. And so I don't think we're going to have an issue with the $5,000 and the $1,000 proposal, which is the one guy.
Okay.
This
So
guy,
talk to me about what you want to do with it.
this one right now, they were just both sent to him today. So I'm hoping that we get some kind of response. He's going to talk to his president about it. And so I'm hoping that we get some kind of response fairly quickly on that. So I should know. So I'm not going to follow up with them until at least, you know, I was thinking, what's today? Thursday, Monday, and say, hey, Paulo, how are we looking on these? I sent them out on Thursday. You know, what are your thoughts?
So okay, I'm going to make another suggestion. So,
Yeah, fine.
so instead of proposal with decision maker, let's look at the options.
Okay. So this is with the IT guy. So it's 20 and 21.
Yep. Instead of proposal with decision maker, look at the options. Go ahead and go to the drop down.
Here. Oh, no, here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Go to the-
Okay.
Yeah, don't touch the probability to close. All right, so we're gonna we have a technical win,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Let's go through the options. They are qualified to buy. We already know that.
Yeah.
But we're past that. He wants to see numbers. We've technically shown him numbers, but I think we showed it to him prematurely. So
Yeah.
what I'm gonna say is we have a technical win, and in the future, what I would do is I would go over a slide deck with what you're gonna do, why he needs it, and what the estimated budget is. It's not the contract. You got on this one, you got to ease him into it. And then if he likes it, great, send the proposal, have the proposal ready to go so he can sign off on it. But that piece of your presentation and the sequence was missing, which is why you have to get buy-in from him again.
Right.
Okay, so I think we're at a technical win with those.
Okay.
And that's the next step. Now for Sierra, it's a little bit different because that one is a little bit more conversational in the approach, and they not only have to build out, it's not so much scope that they have to define, but they do have to define out the deliverables and how they're going to measure their success, which it's a little bit different because they're not as service oriented. They are on a consulting basis of, we're going to map out the plan and then we're going to source the solution for you. So that's basically 2 line items. But what they have to do is they have to prove their value based on the consulting, the speaking, and then moving forward on the training. So that is still a presentation of sorts, but it's not as it's not as hard to build the value for you, because for you, it's pretty cut and dry. You need CMMC, you got to do the thing. Here's what it is. And here's what's going to happen if you don't get it. And oh, by the way, here are the prices. You know what I mean? So in that respect, you actually have an easier job.
Yeah.
So-
That's what we do. That's what we do. We present to them where they're lacking, and then we go from there.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so we've got technical win. Let's go over the close date, because if they already have proposal and Kevin wants you to close it, that's great.
He
But when
does want those 2 technical wins closed by end of year if we can get them.
Well, do you think that based on the conversation that you've had with them, that it'll be end of year?
I think so. They have the need, and they acknowledge the fact that they needed to do it. So I like you moving at the technical win at the 40%.
Yep.
So
Okay.
should I put 15 on that then too?
I would, unless you think you could push it to November, because I don't want you loading
No way.
into
No way,
December.
November.
You don't think
Yeah.
November?
No.
Okay, all right. I'll trust your call on that one.
It's going to
I had
take
the
him a while
conversation.
at first he had sticker shock and we had to get over that. So
Yep. You got it. Okay,
this guy here, by the way, Kevin kindly put in my box, but I don't know this guy at all. This was just sent out. He's like, send them out. This is blah, blah, blah. They need it. So on this one, just so you know,
Yep.
I have no idea on this one.
Okay. All right. So
That one I do know. I'm sorry, Alan.
No,
That
you're
one I do know. It's
now you're just
this-
making stuff up.
Yeah, it's because you have me hiding the thing, so I can't see who I'm really talking about.
You're fine.
This
You're
guy
fine.
here, I have no idea anything about that at all. That's the one he kindly gave me.
Okay. And that's the contracts director. And you've never spoken to him yet?
No.
All right. So
Sent an
here's what
email.
I would do. So
Sent
I
an
would,
email with the proposal that he said, just send this out.
so I would move that to qualified to buy. You haven't even had a conversation yet. Kevin's had a conversation. The guy clearly showed buying signals, but there's 0 rapport built.
Right.
Qualified to buy, get him on a phone call. So next step is, we want to go ahead and put the close date of, I would put the pressure on yourself for an end of October close until you have more information, because, and this is going to help Kevin. Remember when I told you that this is a part of managing up as well as managing yourself and your pipeline?
Yeah.
He said, get the proposal out. If he said, get the proposal out, that's because he wants to close it immediately. If he wants to close it immediately, we need to understand that
I'm gonna
it's ready to close.
I'm
So
gonna put 11/15 because that
don't
guy has
you
not gotten
dare,
back to him.
don't you dare, you put October 31st, because here's the deal. If it doesn't close by October 31st, now you can say, Kevin, you were premature in sending this out. Let me handle it.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you have this where you can send it to him this week, And you can show, all right, you're the one that set this out. I put this to qualified to buy because you said to send it out. Right now, it's looking like a $600 worth of close because we only have 20%. I would never send out a proposal that's at 20% right now. So if you think this is going to close, that's great. But let me see if I can work this through the right way. And then by next week, when you actually reach out to him and you speak to him and you have a conversation with him, now you change the close date and you're turning this in to Kevin. So he sees the trajectory went from October 31st to January 14th or whatever it's going to be.
Gotcha,
Because
yeah,
now you have the accurate information of band and the expectation of when. Doesn't matter when, but
Yeah.
at least now you have accurate data.
yeah, okay.
Okay. So then let's go ahead and go to the next steps. And we actually need to fill out the next steps for your government IT guy on the technical win as well. So I'll let you do that while I answer Lewis's question. Lewis, you got a hand?
Yes. So for the purposes of this spreadsheet, does the close date just indicate the close date for that particular phase?
No, close date of the contract. So for example, if you have a cloud migration, right? Somebody's going to migrate their, on-site server if they still have on-site servers. Say they have on-site servers and you're migrating to O365 in the cloud. That is when you want signed, sealed, delivered contract. Doesn't mean that the deal is done and the work is done, but it means that you have money in hand or signature on the dotted line.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm going to ask you to put more detail in that instead of follow up on 1016. What's the follow up for? Because this is going to help you and Kevin communicate better, and it's going to keep it fresh in your mind. And then the best part is you just copy and paste this right into your CRM so you don't have to do double the work.
What,
And
follow-up proposals?
I wouldn't say proposals. I would say reestablish buy-in of proposal. Lewis.
Okay, so I'm looking at the qualified to buy the government IT one for that's closing on the 31st of October.
Yep.
So that it seems like there's a lot of work to be done in a short period of time.
Absolutely, but that's the point. So the problem is that in Brian's case specifically, his CEO gets happy ears and he gets trigger happy and he wants to send out a proposal right away he wants to get married before they've even gone on the first real date, right? Right. So far, they've just met for coffee on a Tuesday. They haven't even gone out to dinner on a Saturday night. Does that make sense? So essentially what's happening is he's putting the cart before the horse and he's going to lose clients. That's one of the main reasons that Brian's here and he's in this group is because a lot of what was happening is there were close loss deals and we couldn't figure out what it was. We started doing the process of elimination and he would get these great projects and potential prospects, and then the rapport just wouldn't happen because he was on to the next thing. And so the preemptive strike is to show him the error without pointing out that it was his error. So that's the magic of managing up inside of the forecast and the pipeline. And Sierra, you can do the same thing with Pam. So what's going to end up happening is she's going to get happy ears. She's going to hear, oh yeah, we want you on this because she's got all these friends in the industry and she thinks that it's a solid deal and it's done. And so proposals go out before you have the buying process defined, before you understand who has to weigh in on the decision. So if we can manage a couple of these deals that were handoffs this way, where we say, okay, Mr. CEO, Miss CEO, you think that it's going to close here. I'm going to show you based on the pipeline stage that there's a lot of work to do between now and here. I think it's going to go next week when you finally get him on the phone. I think it's going to be closer to end of year. Does that kind of make sense why I'm doing what I'm doing? I'm manipulating in a very nice way.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll become more clear as we move
I'm
forward.
seeing what you're doing, Alex. I like it. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because again, remember, you're gonna save this. This is the document that you're saving, and you're gonna turn this in. And if he looks at it, and you can walk him through it and say, hey, based on this, it looks like 20% is done. And if we're gonna get all the way to 100% close by end of October, because you sent the proposal, that's what you're saying is happening. How are we gonna get all this done? And we haven't even talked to him about the expected close date. So now when you have that conversation with him, he's going to probably go, oh yeah, okay. And then you can have the conversation with your prospect and get an accurate close date so that next week when you turn this in, the probability goes up and you get an accurate close date.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Just another company, never talked to, don't know anything about the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Have no idea. This was again a generous give. He was like, send out the proposal, blah, blah. So should I just call him and do the same thing, establish buy-in, call, email next week?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And should I put Kevin's should I put the 1031 since that's what he pushed out, or what do you think?
That's what he pushed out. Same exact process.
Yeah,
Establish what he says and then get the facts. But you got to start from somewhere. And then we also need the lead source, right? So if it came directly from a Kevin referral, pop that in there. If it came from the web, great. If it came from the SDR doing outreach, perfect. But let's start watching.
yeah, these are all Kevin's. I think because he has rapport with them.
Mhm.
But again, his object and mine too is that he doesn't talk to him anymore. I want to.
Okay. All right. So how are you feeling about your pipeline now? If you scroll over to the left and we look at what's coming in based on the weighted pipeline, keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. All the way. All the way. There we go. All right. So you have overall sales target at 12. Your weighted pipeline is at 6.5. And your total pipeline is at 21. So you need like 5x in your pipeline to support your target for the quarter.
Yeah, well.
Okay. Well, but it's good to see it, right? Now you know where to go. And it's not as scary as you thought it was, because even with the weighted pipeline with the answers that you don't have answered, you know what you need to do, you know where you need to go. And once that weighted pipeline goes up, that's going to help you immensely.
I'm going to put this one here because same thing here.
There you go. Okay. So moving on, and thank you for sharing your screen. So who wants to go next? Hot seat. Sierra,
Yeah,
you want to go?
Don't be scared.
Don't be scared.
I can go.
You can go. Let's do it. And normally what we want to do is we want to keep these down to 15 minutes per or 10 minutes per. So we're going to start knocking them out real quick between all of us, because I want you all to get something out of it from looking at your own. I may not be able to reach to everybody, but at least this way you guys are going to start seeing how it works. And so you can then go back, and while everybody else is going, you can start getting this stuff filled out. So, all right. Which ones have we not seen so far? And is this all from last quarter? Did any of that close?
So all the stuff, since we've kind of like started, I do have some things that close at the very bottom. I kind of sorted it by like the percentage of close and put the ones that were closed or the ones that that we lost at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. So the ones that you closed lost, you put on the bottom?
Yeah. So this one we lost. They kind of did like the get back with me like next year
Got it. Okay, so then do me a favor, save this as it is and make a copy so we start from scratch for this quarter, because this is the beginning of the new quarter and we want to make sure that we don't have anything on here that's already closed one that's going to affect the numbers.
Okay. I'll talk with Pam about doing this because this is like the master one that she kind of does. So I'll go over that with her. But I'll make a note of that, of starting it today.
Well, what you can do is make a copy of the master.
Mhm.
And then that copy will do the ongoing stuff, so you can wipe things off of the master. Or not off the master, off of the copy. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay,
But I'll do that after the fact. I'm trying
That's
not
fine.
to like ask this too much now.
No,
So
you're
I'm
fine.
stuck with like the things that probably have like the higher percentage of close at the top.
I don't really, yeah, it's not so much about the higher percentage of close at the top, because here's the deal, they're all gonna change and it's all gonna be different throughout the month. And every week it's gonna move, like some are gonna be at 80, some are gonna be at 20, and it all shift and flow. But I like that you did this at the very beginning like that, so that we can start kind of working it through. The point
Because
of,
we did like a quick, like kind of like a company meeting the other day, and it was just kind of like, where are we at with people, and like all of it being mixed up throughout made it
Mhm.
hard to real quick go through of like, what are the ones that are like the close to selling, what are like, what status are we at for each of these, and then how do we address those for each one. So that's kind of why that format has changed currently. So I know that they all kind of changed, but it was kind of like, okay, like the ones that the contractor sent, what are the ones that we've had like that technical win agreement for? What are the ones that we know that we're talking to the right person versus who are we still doing the discovery calls for? So we were kind of separating it out by stages when we were doing like the where's everyone at with everything.
Yep.
And then as we had the conversation yesterday, we're in the process of like formally assigning each one to someone. And then for the other ones that we're still like reaching out to about getting the discovery call. So we're still in the process of getting that all divvied up so that
Okay.
everyone has a formal sales lead person on it who's in
Perfect.
charge of it.
And then on top of it, these deals, right? We want to put specific owners of these deals. So remember when I asked 2 weeks ago, and then again last week, I want to see all of these deals separated by different sheets on the bottom, because I need duplicates of the sheets so that I know who's working on which one, right? So I know that Sierra, you're working on these 4. Pam is working on these 2. You know, we've got Angela on these 3, right? Just, I know that you guys are tag teaming a little bit, but you can't all own it.
Yes, so I would say it'll probably look very different by the time, I'm hoping by our next pipeline meeting. Because right now it's like nothing has like physically been changed as we've discussed how we're moving forward and what we're going to be doing and what the next steps are. So
right. And I also know
be,
that I'm throwing a lot at you guys, so I get it.
so that's where we are with those. We have, I don't know if there's any ones that you're wanting to particularly
Let's look at the
discuss.
ones. Yeah, let's look at the highest amount, right? So let's look at the 15,000s where it came in through the website. It looks like Kristen M and Kristen B.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those are at 20% and it's qualified to buy. So we've already had the discovery call. We've already established BANT. And what makes them 20%? Let's start with Kristen B because you're highlighted on it.
Honestly, both of them are kind of in the same situation. They're just different companies in which we have talked with them. And we have basically sold them on like the product. They're very, very interested. They want to move forward. It's the like setting up the meeting with the right department and getting us connected with the people that can actually sign the contract. And so that's kind of where those 2 are. And where those ones are kind of stuck in that like establishing fully like that qualified to buy before we formally send a proposal or anything like that. Because right now we have the people that are like, we're very interested. We want to move forward. We want to do this with you, but we don't have the person that actually would cut the check and sign the contract fully on board yet. So that's where that one's stuck at. Those 2 are stuck at the 20%. We did have meetings with them recently in which you know, we sent them more of like the flyers and information for them to forward into the different departments, but that's where that holdup is for those two.
Okay, so explain so the holdup is in the same spot with both of them?
We actually have a couple of them, because we have a couple connections in which they're like they aren't, our connections aren't within like the right department. So the person that we connected with are they're like the supplier diversity advocate, and they kind of work in that department. So they assist with purchasing, but they don't actually have any purchasing power.
Mhm.
So then once they're like, hey, like your product is great, we like your company, we want to do business with you, they then are trying to help us get in to the right department that would actually be using, and that would actually be signing up and doing it, and then actually be using
Got
the
it.
product.
Okay, so these people are your champions, is what I'm hearing.
So there's like 4 of them on this list. Those 2 just happen to both be Kristens and right next to each other.
Of course they are.
That we have another one. We have another Kristen as well, and it gets all crazy. I've got like 5 Michelles too. But those 2, and so there's like 2 others on this list as well that are stuff that we're stuck in that like qualified to buy, in which they've been like, they're our champions. They like the product. They want to do business with us. They want to use our product and use our services and do business with Triumph and with Pam. But it's getting like the connection and setting up the meetings with the person that would actually then sign it. And so they're setting the information. They're trying to figure out who's the right contact to connect this with to help this move forward. And that's where like the delay's been. So we're staying in contact with them. We're sending them information of, see, remember this information is great, and let's set up a call and all of that. But until that happens, there's a pause.
Okay, so I am not in disagreement that it's in qualified to buy.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I think let's go over the next steps. Let me see. Before I correct, I think you might be on the right track. It's just the way you're expressing what's happening with it to me. And
wonderful. They didn't update the notes on this one.
of course not. Just because you're the one that's being fed to the wolves, because you're the one on pipeline review. Which
I get assigned a pipeline review, and then I just have to go off of the top of my head. So
yeah, exactly.
I know,
Just go back to them and yell at them for not updating this. And this is again why we want to have a sheet for you, a sheet for Angela, a sheet for Pam, so that you can get yours updated and say, I did my job. But but when you go to the next steps on it.
so I know, like, for perfect example, the one that I have highlighted, the Kristen B, I know that Pam had a meeting with her this week. They discussed it again in further detail of exactly what the product is. And Pam kind of expressed like who typically uses the product to help her figure out who she should be targeting. And then we sent her like our little like 1-pager flyer with information so that she can reach out to now who Pam has said, I would recommend you start with talking to these people. And because like these would primarily be the people that be using it. And here's the flyer. And she's going to reach out and try and see if she can facilitate setting up a meeting. So that's where that one is. So our next steps would probably be to follow up with her if we haven't heard from her in like a meeting, probably like Monday.
So she's not the one that's actually going to make the purchase, correct?
She would not be the one making the purchase. She does not have the buying power, have the authority.
Got it. Well, we have established.
She has an idea. She has the like, so like for like when you go into BANT, we've established the need. She's like, absolutely, we need the need. She wants to get this done by the end of the year, but she doesn't have the authority to do it. And it wouldn't be coming out of her budget. So we have the NT, but not the BA.
so let me ask you a question. What is her motivation to have this done? And if she's not the one that comes out of her budget, what influence does she have?
So like this, like, so her role is to assist with purchasing of getting more diverse spend. And so she has the goal of for the company of at the end of the year, they have to hit certain percentages of diverse spend. So by doing business with us, by buying the product through us, they're able to reach their diverse spend numbers. So that's where like her motivation comes in, and using these people, like their motivation for using us is if they can find like hey, there's a need for this product, which we've established, you need this product, that this is important, this is imperative for your company to have. And on top of that, it also meets her diverse spend. So she, again, as you said, using that champion term, they're going to be championing that you do business with Triumph because, hey, this is something that you guys actually need. We've shown that they're at risk and they need to do this with us, and they need to do it with us in a timely fashion. And on top of, like, the cherry on top is that diverse spend. So that's where she becomes our champion, and she's going to really help facilitate and say, hey, not only do you guys have to do this, here's all the information, but like, I need the numbers, and as our company, we have to do so much of diverse spend.
Okay. In that case, can I push back on the deal stage? And there's a reason. So what I'm hearing is she's a really qualified lead, and we do have a champion to walk us through. But because we did not get budget, authority, need, and timeline, we do have a reason to buy, right? We've got a real strong reason. We've got a great motivator. We've got a good story to tell, and we have a lot of incentive for them to purchase. But I think the story needs to be told to the right person for you to get to a qualified to buy. So I would move that down to a 10%.
Okay.
Because that's the person. Now, that does not mean that you put less effort into it, but it gives you a true picture of what you're going to have to do to get this closed. She's fabulous. We want to make her look like a rock star, and we want to make sure that she is getting us in front of the right person so that we can make the story more well-known and more accepted. And because she has the motivation, because she has to hit that minority budget, that's great. It just makes her look good.
All right. At risk of making you guys angry of messing with your systems, I might need to come up with like one of those like 15% for like some of these categories where it's like, we've done the discovery call, we've established half of BANT. We need to get the purchaser.
But you haven't had the discovery call with the right person.
Okay.
You've had the person that is introducing you to them. And again, you've got a real good motivator, but.
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
To me, it's a sales qualified lead, and it's perfect example. I was given a really great connection from somebody inside of a very large organization, but he doesn't have the authority to purchase anything. He's getting me in touch with the head of sales, the CRO, who needs help. Okay. So yeah. I've never had the discovery call with that head of sales, that CRO. I've had a great conversation with my buddy, right? And he's my champion, and my incentive is to make him look like a rock star. But right now, I'm still at 10% because I haven't sold the right person.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you did do a lot of groundwork, and you've done really good initial digging, but to me, it's nowhere near 20%.
My only small hesitation with that, and this would be something where I would need to talk with Pam, because primarily like these ones are the ones that like she's the lead sales on, and she primarily handles it once it starts to get to like this stage. Is I know like with a previous one that we've worked on, we really didn't have the meeting. They just said, hey, they're interested, send me a proposal. And like, we never talked with the person that actually signs the contract and purchases. It all went through this person. We never did that discovery call with them. They had the conversation. They go, yeah, I'm interested. Send me the purchase order. We sent it over. We got signed. And then after we had the signed contract is when we actually started to meet with their team on like implementing the product. So that's the only reason that there's like that small hesitation of completely changing it. But I get what you're saying.
So let me ask you a question, because maybe I don't have the full story. If Kristen B says, you don't need to have the conversation with my director, I can get the proposal and process it. That to me sounds like it's more understanding the buying process. But from what you told me, what I'm hearing is that you have to have a conversation with that person first. Are we having?
We don't know yet.
You don't know yet. Okay, so if you don't.
And that's where, like, for each of these, like, that's what we're trying to figure out with the Kristen M and with the Kristen B and like the other two people on here is how, like, are we okay with just sending you the proposal and you can move it up, or do we need to have a conversation and sell them on it? And we're trying to get, that's like the stage that we're at is
Right.
what is the next step
Then you
through
haven't
your
then you haven't
personal
gotten-
purchasing.
Then you haven't gotten banned, and then you would still need to
Okay.
be at 2%, because that band still establishes authority. So maybe you have told the right person the right story, but you don't know who can sign off on it right now. So you got to
Yeah.
find it out, right? If she can be the signing authority, fabulous. It's one less conversation that you need, but you still have an established band. So you've had half of the discovery call. You still need to have the other half.
Okay.
So Alex, are you suggesting that she move it to discovery call, just because I'm trying to understand your chart?
Yeah, but once we have established band, then yeah, we can go to qualified to buy, but right now we're missing who can sign off, what the process is, who has to authorize it. We don't have the budget yet. We know that it ticks off one of the 5 boxes that they need. It does the minority piece. We know that it ticks off one of the 5 boxes that they need, which they have to have a solution, right? So we have the need, but we don't have timeline, we don't have authority, and we don't have budget. So
Okay.
right there, to me, that's half of the discovery call had, which is okay. I mean, sometimes these sales can take months because you just got to kind of work them through. But now, you know, the next step is we really got to establish the budget authority and the timeline. And oh, by the way, what's the purchasing process? Because we don't want to run into another husband and wife team that are like, ooh, let me go check with my spouse, right?
Yeah, we have one of those.
I know. So that's what I'm getting at. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who the signing authority is. If you don't know the full story and the full scope, you can't count it anyways.
Okay.
Okay. And that way, if Pam pushes back on you, again, this is going to be a very similar conversation of managing up where, and she'll love this because I'm sure she's going to watch the recording. So one of the things that you're going to have to do is set the expectation that, hey, if we don't have band, we don't have a real opportunity. We've got a conversation going.
Yeah. Okay. Nope,
Okay.
that makes sense.
And it'll get so much clearer too. And I understand what the pushback was now that we've kind of talked through it. But now if you go back on all of these opportunities, I'll push back and say, okay, let's challenge you to really look at, okay, is this one at 40%? Do we have everything? Did we establish all of this? Are these 20%ers really 20%? Do we have the whole story? And it's going to you'll start questioning yourself. The minute you start questioning yourself, it's probably not all there.
Yeah.
Okay. Not that I'm trying to create more work for you, but if you get the foundational stuff done first, the rest of the sale's so much easier, and it goes.
No,
so
that'll be a conversation for me to go through, because again, the notes have not been properly updated and I got thrown to the wolves. So I will go through.
I'm sorry.
Oh no,
Just go back to them and yell at them like, hey, we're this group effort, guys.
As you said, we need to have like probably the separate sheets, or if we're not going to do separate sheets, then we have to really, really put in our notes on this one properly. So at least that way I can formally speak on everyone's behalf.
Yes.
So I'll go through like the 20 and 10% and actually figure out where exactly we are and what exactly, like, give me like the paragraph description of what the next steps are, not just like the 3 words.
Right.
I do know the 40% is a technical win, so I'm very proud of that one.
Okay, there you go. So now here's the deal. We can go another step further now, and I'm just going to take the last minute and say we can go another step further. And when you start monitoring this quarter by quarter, and you have a new master sheet for each quarter, and it doesn't have to be a new book, just a new sheet, right? Duplicate it out. So you have, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. Now you've got a fresh, approach. You don't have anything that's closed lost, because you now remember the last conversation we had during work hours. You have a sequence that you're putting the closed lost in, because they're just going to get marketed to again. On the closed one, now you're onboarding. So they're going to go down another path. So it's all clean, blank slate. Now you're looking at the ones that you really got to focus on. So it just cuts the noise out.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, guys. I think we went through most, all of the pipeline today that we could. Did everybody get something valuable out of this? I know we didn't hit everybody's pipeline, but I want to make sure everybody got something valuable out of it and took away appropriate, nuggets.
Yeah, this was great, Alex. I appreciate all your time. Sorry we took up so much of it today.
No, you did.
yeah.
This is exactly what I want. Like I said, we're gonna start getting to a point where we can just do 15 minutes on each person's pipeline. We'll just rock it out. But as we get and as we start introducing more people into the group, because that's gonna start soon too, that you guys get to be, you know, my stars, and you'll already know what you're doing. So they'll be able to learn as well, and they'll be able to catch up just as fast. And, you know, we may take 30 minutes on somebody's pipeline or an hour on somebody's pipeline, but I guarantee you we'll all walk away knowing how to do stuff a little bit more. Lewis, raised hand. He likes his raised hands.
I do. I'm taking full advantage of it. I mean, I honestly, I do feel a bit, you know, twisting in the wind, because I don't have real data to put into my pipeline.
But I
And
thought we were having some good conversations.
no, I'm having great conversations, but you know, there's nothing there's nothing to put in the pipeline yet,
Okay. But
right?
do you have next steps on, you know what I might do? I might share with you my SDR sheet. And Brian, you need this too anyways. We're gonna start at the very beginning of top of funnel for you, because I don't want you feeling as though you're not getting anywhere just because you're focusing on top of funnel. This is
Right.
absolutely useful for you, but I think right now where you are at, you're having these great conversations, you're moving things through, but you just don't have BANT yet because you're doing it all at once. And so filling out that pipeline is challenging at best, because
Right.
because it's not there yet, but you are working on top of funnel, which is not something that we want to ignore. So let me do this. Let me take a breather. And then I'm going to go get my my SDR sheet, and I will share that on the drive, and I'll have a send out for you guys, so you have that by tomorrow. I'm also I don't want you guys to think that I forgot about what I was talking about with the calendar blocking and the template. I'm actually having my team create it so that it's a little bit cleaner for you. So we'll try to get that to you by next week. Does that work, Lewis? Does that help?
No, that definitely helps, because I know I'm kind of at top of pipeline and wondering if what I'm doing is the right approach, right? Because I'm sending out a bunch of LinkedIn messages, and you know, they're good messages. I just don't know if I'm, you know, a voice crying in the wilderness, where, you know, because people don't check their LinkedIn messages, right? Things like that is what I'm wondering about.
Got
Hey,
it.
Lewis, I just want, if I could just throw this in real quick. Lewis, you're not by yourself, because just like Alex said, I'm kind of in the same boat. I've got a lot of top of funneling to do myself. I mean, although my pipeline looked like a lot of stuff, you saw it was mostly green, which is current clients. So, you know, my object is to turn it all yellow, which is new business. So I'm in the same boat. So don't feel discouraged at all. I'm excited about all these processes Alex is showing us.
Yeah, and honestly, the pipeline meeting is meant to be just that. It's pipeline to move deals forward. But I totally know where you're at, Lewis. I know where Sierra too. So all of us on this call, even though our focus on this meeting is pipeline, the rest of the week we're really focusing on all the things, right? So that's why we need to focus so much on top of funnel. So I make the commitment to you that next Monday our call will be completely focused on top of funnel for you know, where we need to be focusing for the week. Because I think all of us need to do some top of funnel activity.
Okay, and I'm gonna put together, you know, maybe like a spreadsheet or something, you know, where I categorize the developments, you know,
I already got one for you. I'm going to send you the template today, tomorrow. I just
Cool.
gotta make it pretty.
Okay, because I mean, there's really multiple funnels, right? Because I'm also working on bringing in people and systems, you know, they're not prospects as far as clientele.
But they can network and they can refer.
They can, yeah, right. There's referral partners, but there's also like, I'm talking to a guy who could potentially be, a business partner or employee, or, somebody who's like
Great.
the fulfillment.
Yeah,
portion.
no, that's phenomenal. The only thing I would say is with your CRMs, a lot of what you're doing from a top of funnel perspective is going to be entered into your CRM, not on a templated sheet, but the sheet that I have is a good barometer. So it'll set the stage. And so then you're going to take what I show you and you're going to implement it into your CRM, because otherwise you're going to go in saying there's going to be way too many Excel sheets. You're not going to like it. And you're going to get very angry with me. And when I say angry, you are going to curse my name. So I don't want you to curse my name. I want you to implement it in your CRM, whether it's Odoo, HubSpot, Go High Level, all of them. They all have this functionality, okay?
Cool.
Cool. Okay. You get some rest.
Yeah, sorry about that today,
You're
people.
okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Alex. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye.